Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am joined by my playing partner, Mr. Andrew Hanson, to discuss a unique tournament this week, a little bit different, but we're pretty fired up about it. So, what do you have to say, Andrew? How are you doing today?
Doing fine. Yeah, interesting week last week with Stuart Sink
Wow.
pulling out the victory. Good family affair there. And wish I'd had more exposure to him. We talked about him on the podcast, and then he didn't make it into the final lineup that we gave out. But we had a decent PGA week overall. But you're right, it is a different format here, a team event down
Right.
in down near New Orleans, and it's a fun format, a little bit different. It's not quite the Ryder Cup, Coach, but it's the
Yeah.
closest version here on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, it's something different. It is the Zurich Classic, played at the TPC in Louisiana. It's in New Orleans, and it's a two-man duo, basically, is what it is. And defending champs are John Rahm and Ryan Palmer. And it does play a par 72, 7,341 yards. So it's a nice little test. You want to explain to the listeners and our members sort of how this tournament works?
Yeah, absolutely. It became a team event in 2017. Didn't play last year because of COVID, but the defending champs, like you mentioned, Rom leading the way there with your man Palmer. And what we've got here in terms of a format is it's a cut event where 33 teams plus ties make the weekend, and it makes sense on the normal cut event where it's 65 and ties. So it's 33 teams and ties,
Yeah.
and we have two different formats here. We have four ball and foursomes. And the easiest way to think of four ball is best ball, where
Right.
everybody in the group plays their ball out and you take the best score from your team. So if one guy makes a bogey, one guy makes a par, your team gets a par. And when you're on DraftKings and FanDuel, you're just picking a team. Like on DraftKings, they have all the names listed, but you can't pick two partners. You're picking one guy from the team, and you're going to get the team score. So on the first round, they're going to play that best ball format. In the second round, it's going to be foursomes, where you alternate shots with your partner. And one player will tee off on all the odd holes, the other player will tee off on all the even holes, and then you alternate your shot until you hole it. And then the next hole, doesn't matter who made the putt, it's whoever's designated to tee off, whether it's an odd hole or an even hole. So that's round two, and then that's the same thing in round three and four. They go best ball round three, foursomes round four. So you get both formats twice if you make the weekend.
Beautiful. I'll tell you, every time I think of alternate shot, I have to laugh. It takes me back about 20 years ago. My brother and I were playing in a little event. It wasn't, a big deal. I'm not a big time golfer, but it was like a club championship type event. And it was alternate shot. And he's a hothead, if you know my brother. He's not like me. And I was having trouble off the tee. I think I just felt the heat. So I had twice he had to hit shots. Once with one foot in the water, he had to take his shoe off. And the other time was sticks like jamming him in the neck and everything. He was just like, I'm gonna kill you.
Well, it's funny if you look at some of the scores in these past years, you will see some high scores on the
Yeah,
second day because the first day you get that best ball, you can see
right.
63, 64 all day long, but then you see some 75, 76, 77s in that
Yeah,
second round because the guy hits it in the water. There's a lot of water here. You don't get to use the other guy's ball. You got to go play
that's
it.
right.
So,
Yeah,
and then you've got that unique context of guys not used to not playing their ball all the way to the hole.
sure.
For
Yeah.
especially a lot of these guys are sort of middle of the road PGA Tour players who aren't playing in the international events every year.
That's right. And that brings up the next point I wanted to make. Perfect segue. I think there's a big edge from both the Europeans and the Americans that get to play in these President's Cups and Ryder Cups because they're used to this times 10. So they're doing this kind of format similar with way more pressure than in this one. So big edge, I think, to those guys and those teams. And you'll see that with some of my picks is, like you said, how many times has maybe the group of, Kokrak and Perez played a ton of alternate shot in big competition, for example,
Right.
or Spawn and Matt Jones. I mean, this, I know they'll practice it, but until you're in there and you're up against it, it's a little bit tougher. So I think that's a really good thing to keep track of as well.
Yeah, exactly. And what I kind of looked at was team performance here in this
Okay.
event, and obviously recent performance for each teammate. But it's also interesting that some of these pairings change. A team will miss the cut, and then you'll see one guy pair up with somebody else the next year, and
Right.
then when partners do find success, they stick with it. And I think that is a big edge. Guys who've made the cut here multiple times as teammates,
Yeah,
that's really key chemistry because they kind of worked out the kinks for all these guys who haven't played a lot of international competition team events.
for sure. What does it look like since 2017 then? Are we seeing any trends of guys that are consistently good here or bad either way?
Yeah, well, we've got Ramen Palmer as that recent victory.
Right.
Here's let's just jump in with my biggest key potential fade of the week, and it's Kisner
Okay.
and Brown. Kevin
Okay.
Kisner and Scott Brown have had really good success here as teammates. They're very affordable, mid-tier price range. I think they'll be attractive picks. But Kevin Kisner's missed 3 cuts in a row. Scott Brown has missed his last 2 cuts in 3 or 4. And Kisner's been messing around with a different putting stroke.
Okay.
So I think we can gain an edge if we fade the popular pick there, and hope that Kisner doesn't figure out his putting stroke in time.
Right.
So there's one guy to fade. Some of the other pairings that I like a little bit better with solid success here, Oosthuizen and Schwartzel, they tied for third back in 18.
Okay.
Tringale and Roberto Castro, they
Hmm.
tied for fifth in this last event 2 years ago, and there's a mid-tier option at 8,000. And Tringale just finished tied for ninth at the Valero, and Castro has made his last couple of cuts. He's one of those under the radar players. He doesn't play every week, but he's decent, and I like that chemistry.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be a low owned one for sure.
Yep. And I'll jump to my favorite value pairing here. It
Okay.
is Piercy and Akshay Bhatia. Now, Piercy won this event in 18 with Horschel, but Horschel's not playing this week. They've got different partners. So he's picked up Bhatia, that young lefty that I like, and
Right.
they're only 6,900.
Hmm.
So I think Piercy as a veteran, having won this event as a team event, will take Bhatia under his wing, and get him into the mix. And that's a place I'm looking where you can save some money this week.
Nice. Very nice. Definitely some interesting combinations. Some that make sense, and some that you'd think is how did those guys get together to play in this? But it certainly will make it very interesting. There's no question about it. Um, Let me go over a couple of odds real quick here. Our betus.com.pa partners, we always like to sort of check out the odds because a lot of times they'll take into consideration not just winning the event, but who's going to get through the cut, and every edge we can get, because the secret to success is to get all of your guys or teams in this perspective through the cut line. So with only 33 of them teams making the cut, it's going to be really a premium to get those guys through. Also, if you're watching this right now on YouTube, just real quickly, if you take a second, hit the thumbs up, the subscribe button, and click the little alert button up in the corner. Really important to us, means a lot. We bring all these podcasts to you in front of the paywall. I want to thank some of our sponsors, betus.com.pa, Monkey Knife Fight, Super Draft, and certainly BetUS. So Here we are, Andrew. I'm going to give you a little quiz on top of this. We're going to do it. I'm going to give you two teams, and I want you to tell me which one is more of the favorite in this event. A little
Okay.
different twist.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
By the way, I need to correct something. I sorry I misspoke about Horschel
Sure.
not playing this week. He switched teammates from Piercy.
Oh,
He is teamed up with Sam Burns, but I don't like Sam Burns' recent history here. So just as an aside.
interesting. Okay. Well, let's go right to that then. Who is more of a favorite to win this event based on the odds at betus.com.pa? Is it Horschel and Burns or Rose and Stenson?
Ooh, wow, classic
Yeah,
matchup here of Americans versus the foreigners.
yeah,
I think odds wise, I'm going to say they give Horschel the edge after that recent victory.
you're correct. The Horschel Burns team is 25 to 1. The Rose Stenson group is 33 to 1. So good call there. All right, how about these two? Gim and Sue, two guys we've played. Uh, is it them or is it Glover and Ches Reavy?
Ooh,
Another tricky one.
that's a tough one. I'm going to say that Glover, as the most prominent golfer out of that quartet, has his team as the favorite.
Correct. He's 45 to 1. That team, Gim Sue 60 to 1. And we'll give you one final one.
Okay.
Is it the combination of Morikawa and Wolf or Watson and Scheffler? Studs.
Yeah, that's a close one. I'm gonna say that Morikawa's team is the favorite, but I like the other team better.
Well, believe it or not, you're wrong on that one
Okay.
because this is why it was really tough is Morikawa and Wolf opened up at 16 to 1 and remained 16 to 1. Watson and Scheffler opened up at 18 to 1 and dropped to 14 to 1.
Okay.
So there you go. You're on the right side betting wise with Watson and Scheffler against those two. So to give you the top 10 real quickly, you've got Rahm and Palmer, the defending champs, at 7.5 to 1. How about this team? Shoffley and Cantlay. You talk about gunslingers. They're 8 to 1. Then you have Smith and Leishman, 12. The aforementioned Watson and Scheffler, followed by Morikawa and Wolf. And then this is a dangerous team. Finau and Champ could cause some trouble. And then the three teams rounding out the top group, Kirk and Todd, Willett and Hatton, who happens to be one of the teams that I like, and then Grace and Varner the third. So there you go. Interesting teams, you know?
Yeah, and I got some thoughts on some of these teams. I think Shoffley and Cantlay probably the best duo in terms of overall skill, let's say in the last year or so.
Oh, for sure.
But
Wins too.
yeah, but Cantlay with those three missed cuts and that extremely disappointing performance at the Masters
Tell me
is
about it.
enough for me to fade that group. And
Yeah.
then Morikawa and Wolf. Wolf has just been
He's
a
been
real
terrible.
mess lately. I do not
Yeah.
trust anything with him.
Me
And
neither.
I mean, Morikawa can carry them in the four ball, but once we get to foursomes, if Wolf is off target like he has been lately, then that he's going to sink that ship.
Yeah.
And
I
then
think so too.
Watson and Scheffler, the reason I said I like that group better is because Watson won this event back when it was a single player event.
Yeah.
So he's got the great course history, and you get a nice little discount over some of the other top teams. And you know their length is kind of similar to the other group I wanted to mention, Finau and Champ. Like you said, that's
Yes.
an interesting
Dangerous.
pairing. I mean, those
Yeah.
guys can smash the ball
Yeah.
as far, if not farther, than anybody on tour. And I like how you'll get these pairings where guys are smart and they say, you know, I'm used to hitting certain yardages on certain holes, and I want to play with somebody who's going to play the course the same way I am, and those guys
Right.
are a perfect example of that.
Makes a perfect pair for sure. A couple of the two pay up groups that I like this week, Andrew. Um, I really think Watson and Scheffler are a great duo. You like them. Their odds, they're getting bet, and I like them too. Scheffler's coming off that match play, run to the finals against our man Horschel, and I think it's just a good setup for those two. I think they'll be strong partners, and I know recency is very important, and I know that a lot of maybe fish, if you will, that don't play this much will just take the biggest names that they've heard that have won the big ones. But I still like Schauffele and Cantlay. Those two guys, arguably, now I'll say arguably because Rahm's in there, but they might be the two best single players of anybody in this entire event. I'd say those two and Rahm are the top three. So you put two studs like that together, if they could shake it loose, they're not going to have to worry about day one, because if one guy does have a bad hole, the other guy carries them. And I just think these guys are going to be so dangerous. And I know they're priced up, but I really want to start, with those two pairings. I think they can be top five guys pairings, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think it's a much easier road if you work on that duo on FanDuel.
Right.
The pricing a little bit softer there this week, as usual.
It is.
A lot
Yeah.
tougher on DraftKings to get two high price groups like that.
It really is. DraftKings, you have to, if you do that, you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel. So it's pretty much making the decision and then getting a few mid-level, and you still have to go cheap on your last couple because the pricing is so tough. But FanDuel, you can put a pretty star-studded group together, and Yahoo isn't even offering this event, which I thought was really weird. But the only other group I wanted to mention, and they're not cheap, but they're not in that upper number, and you alluded to them earlier, the two crafty vets together, Oosthuizen and Schwartzel. That's just such a dangerous group. You'd think between the two of them, with all their experience and how crafty they are around the greens and on the greens, I just think they can cause some trouble if they get hot too.
Oh, I agree. Oosthuizen is the perfect partner for a team event. He makes every putt.
Right.
So steady with tee to green. He's not going to get you into trouble. So I like that. I like that duo as well.
Yeah. Any other picks for you? I know you're the champion of the value play. Anybody way down there, long bombs, you think have a shot?
There's one more 6K group I'll save for the members, but
Okay.
I will circle back to Gim and Suh, 8,100.
Okay.
So here's the opposite of Champ and Finau. We've got the shorter hitters, good
Right.
tee to green, and you may not need a team like that on FanDuel, but you need somebody in that 8K range, most likely on DraftKings. So there's a candidate with a team that hopefully will at least be steady enough to make the cut. Those guys individually have been making cuts by themselves, and
Right.
I think they can do it again this weekend.
I just like that group because their names are only this big, 7 total letters between the
right.
two.
No doubt.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up here. Keep it short and sweet. I think it's going to be a fun event. If you haven't watched Alternate Shot before, it is a blast to watch because you can see, how they set each other up. There's a lot of strategy to it too. It's definitely should be fun for sure. And the weather's going to be a little cooler for this event. As here in Dallas, it's cold actually today, and that weather's going to be moving tomorrow to our east. So there'll be a little chilly there, but hopefully dry, and should be a fun event. It's a nice, challenging course that you can definitely get into a lot of water trouble. There's no doubt about it. So, check it out. Hopefully you can take down some victories. I would recommend, once you listen to the podcast, jump on, reserve any contests, because there's not quite as big of a group of contests to choose from in DraftKings and FanDuel as there usually is. So some of the good ones are already filling up. So you want to jump on there for sure. Anything to wrap it up, Andrew?
No, that's it. Yeah, looking forward to a fun weekend here.
Fantastic. Well, we really appreciate you tuning in. Join us at dfscoachtalk.com. We post all of our lineups for this golf event tonight at, I think, 8 p.m., right in that neighborhood. So if you want to jump aboard, we'll get you in Discord, and you can take a couple swings at it here in golf. So we really appreciate you listening, and we'll definitely catch you again next week as we look to crush it in DFS.